We are live with episode 6. Today's episode, we're talking about Eskimos slash Inuits, people of the North. You guys know what I mean. Yeah. So that's today's topic. Yeah. Before, I don't know. No one that's listening to this is gonna get pissed at it, but I don't know. If somehow anyone's listening to this who might be offended by this, Eskimo's fine. Alright, no one cares. Inuit also doesn't mean Eskimo. Or it does, but all Inuits are Eskimos, but not all Eskimos are Inuits. Basically, my understanding of the word is that it means people that are like Yupik or Inuit, which is like these two ethnic groups that are comprised of a bunch of different like tribes and shit. So yeah, don't fucking spurg on me because I'm saying Eskimo. But yeah, that's today's topic. Got a few pages of notes, so even if I did have something to talk about, which I don't, I never do. I always like think before the podcast, like what should I talk about? What opinion should I state? That will definitely get me kicked out of school. No, but I always like think that I'm gonna say something in like the first 5 minutes, and I never do. It's always like me just going like, yep, which I guess that's kind of what all these episodes are for, so that I can like learn how to not do that. But either way, whether it's good or bad, I'm doing it. And yeah, today's episode we're talking about Eskimos, Inuit, people of the North. I already said that. But yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna get into it. And yeah, I think I'll just start it because there's a lot of notes. Alright. So Eskimo as like a term refers to the people of Alaska, eastern Siberia, northern Canada, and Greenland, which all those areas have Inuit people, and the Alaskan and eastern Siberian Yupiks. So they're different somehow. Don't ask me. I don't go that deep into it, but different traditions, different stories, and stuff like that. But anyway, so there's about 186,000 Yupiks and Inuits alive today, mostly in North America and Greenland. Yeah, so there's not a lot in Russia. They probably killed them all. Let's be honest. People talk about how mean America was to their natives, which they were, but it's nothing like that shit that was like happening in like 1200 AD. So we know what happened there. Greenland, and some people think Iceland. You think Iceland? You think they might have them? No. Apparently, no one lived in Iceland until like the year 900, which seems pretty late. But I guess it's also kind of a place that's like they say it's the nicer out of Greenland and Iceland, but it's also probably pretty shitty to live in, to be honest. I think it has like one of the highest suicide rates in the world. Oh, unalive rates. What the fucking hell am I kidding, dude? No one. There's not gonna be an ad on this. Who gives a shit? Suicide, murder, kill. I'm gonna say it. Um, but the ancestors of modern Eskimos were a part of a wave of human migration to North America about 5 to 10,000 years ago, and they arrived in Greenland about 4,500 years ago. So, yeah, they came when there was some kind of a land bridge, or they took boats over. You can take a boat, a pretty small boat, across the Bering Strait or like island hop across the Bering Strait. So they might have done that. I don't know. That's not really what this episode's about. I guess it kind of is. It doesn't really matter. Eskimos are not closely related to the various peoples of southern Alaska. So you might have heard of, just fucking bang the shit out of my closet door. You might have heard of like the Aleutian Island people, um, or like the Tlingit or whatever, and some other various tribes. They're not really related to those guys. And if you look at them, if you look at like an Arctic Yupik person and like at a Tlingit person, they look very different. You yeah. So they're not closely related to them, and their cultures really aren't the same. So, uh, the history can be broken down into three general cultural periods slash like I guess like technological periods as well. So there's the pre-Dorset people who lived from 4,500 BC to 850 BC. The Dorsets who lived from 500 BC to 1500 or 1000 AD in some places, and the Thule, which are like the most recent, and that's what every Yupik, Inuit, whatever, alive today is like a descendant of. They're descendants of that culture, that people who lived from 200 BC. It says to 1600 AD, but which I guess maybe kind of the culture started to shift. So maybe that's a fair ending point, but the time periods don't exactly line up because of the fact that there's so many groups in such a large area. I mean, like we said, it goes from all the way from eastern Siberia to like Greenland. So yeah, it's not gonna perfectly line up. It's not like they all decided one day that we're now Thules. And all these names, I don't know about Thule, but Dorset is probably like the guy who discovered it. A lot of this like native stuff is like that, or like Native American type stuff is like that, where it's named after like the people who discovered it, or like if it was found on someone's farm, it's named after that instead of like after the culture or after like a more traditional name, which I guess is kind of like who really gives a shit because it's like they probably don't know what that culture called themselves. Like the modern Inuits don't know what the Thules called themselves, but um, and that's a guess on how that's pronounced. Tool, Thule, I don't know, Thule, something like that. Thule. So no one listening to this knows how to properly pronounce it, so I don't know why I corrected myself there, but either way. So yeah, this next section we're going to talk about the lifestyle. We're going to talk about the ancestral lifestyle mostly, but we'll talk about the modern lifestyle a bit. I watched a few videos of like modern Yupik and like Inuit life, so we'll talk about that a little bit, but it's kind of similar. We'll get into it. So foods, that's where we're starting off. Because I feel like that's the most like basic category. Everyone needs food to survive. Everyone has different ways of getting food, and they're all pretty interesting. Um, so that's where we're starting off. So the diet, um, traditionally, historically, of Eskimo peoples is high in fat and protein, animal fat and protein, and low in carbs. So their diet is about 50% fat, 35% protein, and 20% carbs. And almost all the carbs they eat are from they all the carbs they get are from intramuscular glycogen, which is, if you don't know, when you eat carbs, it gets stored up in your muscles along with water for your muscles to later use as fuel. So it's like when you start a diet, you might lose like 10 pounds in a week or something, but that's not 10 pounds of fat. It's maybe like a pound of fat and 9 pounds of glycogen. because your body stores, extra carbs and stuff in between the muscles as like instant fuel for your body to use or your muscles to use. Um, so yeah, that's what glycogen is. So whatever animals they're eating are eating enough carbs to then transfer the carbs to them. So yeah, they pretty much only ate meat and seafood. I think I might talk about it later, but if I don't, in like the summer and springtime when the snow melted, there was like they had some access to like grasses and berries and some other stuff, but not a ton. So they ate lots of sea mammals, mostly seal, but would hunt belugas, narwhals, and juvenile bowhead whales. And the whales could feed a village for like up to a year. And if you look at it now, they still hunt um whales, which is kind of like after last episode, it's like I get it. It's the way you used to do things, but you know what I mean? Every culture, every, ancestral group, none of them's perfect. I- I'll say that. You got a swing and a miss there. Maybe we shouldn't be hunting, eating whales, but, you know, at least they're eating the whole whale. Um, but yeah, and we'll talk a little bit later. You're like, how the fuck did these guys do this? They're living on a sheet of ice. How were they hunting whales? These guys were badass. The reason I was so interested in talking about them in the first place is because, like, it's just insane to think about that. Like, half the year is like they live in just like a frozen wasteland. Even in like the winter and summer, it's probably like doesn't get above 40 degrees, if that. And like these guys were like Stone Age people. They didn't have shit, and they were living here. And that's just like badass as hell. It's like what's this fucking saying? The indomitable human spirit. It's like human beings are such like insane fucking creatures that in a fucking nothing is off limits. It's like we could literally be banging two rocks together and we'll conquer the earth. So that's why and that's why I've always been interested by these people, um, because it's just badass. And also the Arctic as a landscape is like it's like surreal to look at. It's like just imagining people living there. Like I just wonder what like the Stone Age people thought when they pulled up there and just saw like a sheet of ice and they couldn't see more than like 10 feet in front of them. It's just gray and icy. It's it looks like a surrealist like landscape. It looks like the background of Salvador Dali's like melting clocks. It's just like gray and flat forever. It's crazy. Obviously that's like an exaggeration and like not all of it looks like that all the time, but you guys know what I mean. It's very different than what I'm used to. Anyway, enough of that fucking schizo rant. Fat from seals was like super important or like pretty important because like you can't get seal all year round, and seals are like fairly hard to get. But fish, they ate a lot of fish, which are easier to get. Still difficult, but the fish didn't really have any fat, and they need that fat to like use as calories, or their bodies do. And so they would save a lot of seal fat and like dip the fish in it or whatever, or like cook fish with seal fat. Which now I'm thinking about it, I wish I would have done more research into how they cook things. They probably use like caribou, like dried caribou shit as fire fuel. That would be my guess. I could be wrong. But anyway, so the land mammals they ate include, it's really limited, but it's caribou, polar bear, and muskox. I'm sure there was a few other small things, and one I didn't write down was I guess they forage a lot of bird eggs. So when the birds come up for the summer, they forage for the eggs, and they still do that. So gotta get that one down, or I should have got that one down anyway. But I remembered it, so I'm basically like Joe Rogan and like what's that fucking retard's Lex Fried. God, I hate that guy. He's so fucking annoying. Anyway, um, they fished for char, cod, smelt, and lake trout. So those were like the main fish they ate. Um, yeah, and I think when people might think of these people, they think they live like out on the water, on the ice. They don't. They live on land, but for a lot of the year, it's indistinguishable in the land from the sea because it's frozen over and it's covered in snow. So everything's just covered in a thick blanket of snow, so it all kind of looks the same. But they did live on land, um, around like rivers and stuff, just like everyone else. But it was so far north that for a lot of the year, it wasn't like living on a regular river. But they did live really close to the ocean. But anyway, yeah, okay, I did have it down. In spring and summer, some plants may be foraged, and it said they ate like kelp and stuff sometimes, which I guess makes sense. But um, yeah, not a lot of not a lot of fruits and veggies in there. Modern diets have been fairly westernized due to ease and the price of hunting. Apparently, hunting has just gotten too expensive. But those that live in like their ancestral homeland still hunt and have a fairly similar diet to their ancestors. They still hunt and fishing a lot. Um, but yeah, that's that's the end of what type of food they ate. Now we're gonna kind of talk about how they get their food. Um, so hunting practices. The main types of seal that they ate or and still eat are ring seal, harp seal, harbor, and bearded. And yeah, for most of this, I'm talking about Alaska and like Canadian, not really as much the Greenland and Siberian. Um, just because like there's not as many of them, and also what I read didn't really have a lot of information on them. But I got to assume it's similar. I think in Greenland they were maybe a little more focused on caribou and stuff. Same with Russia, but I think it's fairly similar. I know for a fact they eat that they're doing this in Greenland. Maybe not in Russia, but in Greenland they definitely are. Anyway, so ringed seal could be hunted all year, but harp seals are only hunted in summer. I didn't look into why that was, but I assume it's because the harp seals maybe go somewhere that's like inaccessible, even if it's like not super far away. It's just inaccessible to the people. Maybe it's like super far out on the ocean and they chill on the ice. Hmm, who knows? But when it's frozen over, hunters wait on the ice near holes, like holes in the ice where the seals come up for air, and then they just harpoon them and kill them real quick. Um, some of you guys might have seen the Outdoor Boys video where he chills with I think it's Yupix. But so how they hunt in like the open water is they throw a spear, or it's from a thing called an atlatl, which is it's basically just like a small spear. They hit the seal, like the spear kind of float like detaches maybe, or maybe it's not like that. But either way, it like stays in the seal, but it doesn't really like hurt it at all. Like it could very easily walk that off. But it's just used as like a marker so they know where to throw the real harpoon to stick in and pull the seal in, if that makes any sense. Because the seals go underwater a lot. I mean, and I'm sure they'll kill them on the shoreline and stuff. Man's gotta eat. Um, yeah. So they use harpoons a lot. Um, Harpoons are still used and are like the best way to hunt seals and whales and all that stuff, obviously, because I mean you could shoot it, but then you have to like get it out of the water somehow. So harpoons are the best way because you stick it in, it's attached to the rope, and you just pull it in. Um, and I'm gonna try to say my first word. My first, I think it's an Inuit word. Um, Unach, Unach, something like that. If you guys, I'm gonna link a website in the description of this episode where I got some information about the myths or like legends, folk tales, whatever, of I think this was specifically Inuit. Yeah. Um and you guys will hear the language and it's yeah, it's a you can listen to them talk in their language or English. Either way, you get like a sense of like the language, how it's spoken is pretty different from English. It's kind of like if you've ever heard like the click sounds or like the click languages of Africa, like Xhosa, however you do it, where they like make like a sound with like it sounds like it's with their tongue and like their molars, something like that. And but then you'll hear them speak English and they're still kind of making that sound because it's just like what they're used to. Um, so it's a really interesting, kind of unique language. Um, yeah. So anyway, whales and walrus are hunted by harpooning the animals, and then they like to bring them to shore to slaughter them. So if you guys have played Assassin's Creed Black Flag, you guys know how they do it. You harpoon it, and then you kind of let it pull you, but you don't let it pull you under. You gotta like, there's a technique to it. You know what I mean? They got that magic touch. They got the flick of the wrist with the fucking rope. But you harpoon it and kind of let it wear itself out, and then you harpoon it again, and then eventually it just gets too tired to keep swimming, and so they like paddle to shore, and these guys are not using big boats. They might be using kayaks, like canoes. Not modern, but back in the day, they were definitely using not big boats that were made out of like animal skins and stuff. So they weren't super stable, but yeah, and then they bring them back to shore. I think they cut the back of their necks to paralyze them, and I think that's also maybe where the whales and walruses' jugular vein is. I don't know, but they do that, and then they like break the animal down and eat it. Um, but yeah, so that's how they hunt those guys. Reindeer are hunted all year, but twice every year, the small herds join together and move inland. Historically, hunters followed them uh to where they moved inland and set up camps like around like these mega herds, um, and would hunt them with spears and probably not bows and arrows. These guys didn't have access to a lot, so we'll talk about that, yeah, just in a second, in a literal second. But yeah, reindeer now are hunted with rifles. Same with musk ox. I don't know if musk ox. Oh my god, that's a fucking tongue twister. Not really. I'm just not good at talking for this long straight. Um, anyway, I'm sure muskox are hunted or were hunted with spears, but nowadays they're both hunted with rifles, just because that's easier and more humane. All that good shit. Traditionally, fish are caught by putting a lure in the water, then spearing the fish. But other methods such as netting and hooking have been and still are used. So yeah, they put like a yeah they just put like a fake fish on a string, I guess, and like bob it up and down in the water. Like if you fish, that movement where you're like flicking the rod, trying to make like the lure move in a natural way. And they do that with the fake with their lure, and then they'd spear it through like a hole in the water or in the ice. Um, I'm sure in like summertime and springtime when there wasn't as much ice, they used nets just because that's so much easier and more effective. So most tools are made of bone, ivory, and any available driftwood. So yeah, it was tough out there. Like These guys were never even in the Stone Age, dude. They really weren't. And even the stones they had access to, it wasn't like flint or obsidian or whatever, which is, if you don't know, are like the main stone or the main types of rock used in um like stone tools and stuff. So yeah, these guys had it tough, but they did it, survived thousands of years up there, and I'm sure they used antlers too. Um, yeah, dude. All right, we're on to their drip. So yeah, their shit is swag as fuck. It's so sick looking, which um we'll know why it's so sick looking. But anyway, traditional Eskimo clothing is made of animal skins with an emphasis on water resistance and warmth. Obviously, you know what I mean. If they're worried about anything, they're worried about that. Um, but yeah, it's made mostly from seal hide and caribou hide. Uh, yeah, I'm sure the seal, how they used it was like the caribou for warmth and the seal for more waterproofing. Because seal skin really, you might think that it's like super dense, and it is, but like seals have blubber, so their fur and stuff doesn't need to be super thick, but it does need to be like waterproof and stuff. So I'm sure that's what they used it for. Made by women following like the big hunting seasons. So I imagine like you get more seals during a certain time of year. We talked about like the big caribou hunts, so I'm sure that happens there too. But yeah, anyway, so it's closely related to their religion. Somehow, like the patterns they use and the way they do it is religious in nature, which is probably why the clothes look so cool. Just because they put so much time and effort into it. Um, when most other like religions and spiritual practices, like only certain clothes have that much meaning to them. But I guess all their clothes had that much meaning to them, and maybe some still do, but yeah. Anyway, so most clothing was decorated with fringes, pendants, and pendants. But modern clothing, so that they still make it, includes beadwork. So obviously they didn't have beads, or they didn't have a ton of beads, and they definitely didn't have like the small intricate beads, or like the super small beads you need for intricate beadwork. Um, just because fucking yeah, they lived on a sheet of ice, so obviously wasn't the best place to fucking industrialize and stuff, or even farm. Like, yeah, it was tough up there. God damn. I'm already running out of gas, dude. I should have. Alright. You guys know the drill. Fucking headset. I I don't know why this happens. I really don't fucking understand. It just randomly turns off after 30 minutes. It doesn't happen when I play fucking video games. It just happens here. Yeah. So anyway, like I was saying, I'm kind of running out of gas, but fucking, I gotta turn it back on. Gotta talk about these Eskimos. Gotta talk about their houses, igloos, dude. I knew everyone listening to this. The first thing, maybe one of two things popped into their heads: Avatar: The Last Airbender, you know, the northern and southern water tribes, or igloos. If one of those two things didn't pop into your head, comment down below. Leave a like and subscribe. I don't know. I don't really give a shit. Um, and also, no one listening to this had didn't have one of those two images popped into their head. But we're talking about igloos, not a ton. They're pretty, even to the Eskimos. They're like, yeah, it's a fucking house made out of snow. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same way we view it. It's like, yeah, look around. All we have is snow and ice. obviously we're gonna fucking use it to build a house. It's all we have. But anyway, igloos were used by Eskimos of central Canada and northern Greenland mostly. But I mean, there was all different types of snow houses and snow structures, but they used them mostly during winter, and they weren't like, obviously they weren't like the first choice, but for some, you know what I mean, they weren't bad. They kept heating well, but even to them, they're like, yeah, this is just kind of, you know what I mean, just the best available option. Um, but most of the houses, oh, never mind, we're not there yet. So Inuit, I think, is the singular or like the plural. Inuit is the plural. Um, in Inuit, not obviously, but Inuit means house or houses in Inuit languages. So I'm sure they were just like, they were pointing at it being like, oh yeah, that's our Inuit. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's the house we're living in right now. And then they were like, oh, that's the specific name of this type of house. Which I don't, maybe there's a specific name, maybe not. Maybe they're just like snow shit. Ah, shit, I should have done that. I was gonna try to, because I feel like the two things that people also think about when they hear Eskimo is that they have a million different words for snow and ice, and also Eskimo brothers. And I was gonna do some research into that, but then I was like, fuck it. Like, I feel like I can like do a quick Google right now, but they probably do have quite a few different words for ice. You know what I mean? Like how we have like different words for like lumber. You know what I mean? Tree, lumber, wood, timber, shit like that. Just because, I mean, a lot of what they saw was snow and ice, so they're probably gonna think of different words for it, and they understand like the different types of it. You know what I mean? Like up there, that's like the soil, or not? It's they have soil, obviously, but like you know what I mean. Like it's like the ground beneath their feet, and we have a bunch of different words for soil. You know, silt, sand, dirt, all that different shit. So I assume it's like that. If they do have that many words for snow and ice, maybe it's just bullshit. But they probably do. And then Eskimo brothers, I don't know. They probably fucking Eskimos are sluts. I don't. No, I don't know. That's my guess. No, that's the one I'm going with. Fuck it. No one listening to this cares enough, or like, no one listening to this understands that that was a joke, or they understand that it was a joke. They don't think it wasn't. But dude, I'm too tired for this. I fucking just the way I said that hurt my brain so much, and probably anyone listening to this who I don't know probably turn the podcast off right there because of how dumb that was. Um. Anyway, Eskimos are sluts, and they have a bunch of different words for snow. Okay, let's get to it. So the other types of houses included semi-underground sod houses, which sod is like most people know, but it's like the grass and then like a couple inches of dirt with the roots still attached. And so it's pretty fucking solid. It's like a good way to build a house. A lot of the pioneers um that came to the plains built their houses out of sod because there was no trees and stuff around. Same with like the Eskimos, there wasn't trees around, so they used sod, sod bricks to build their kind of underground houses. So they kind of like dig like a few feet into the ground. They probably hit permafrost, which is why they're kind of underground. Um, and then they'd use like whale bones and driftwood to kind of like make a framework. Um, and then they just place the sod around that. And then they also had hide tents, so like teepee type things, pretty standard. Um, Many modern houses in the historic home range of the Eskimo peoples, whether they're Eskimo or not, or whether they're uh, Eskimo people, I don't know. You guys know what I mean. I'm just referring to Inuits and Yupiks here, and I don't want to have to say that every time, so I'm just saying Eskimo. Are built on like a raised platform and look sort of thrown together because of the high cost of living in these areas, and it's also so rural that it's like even if they had the money and wanted to repair their houses, it's like if it's the middle of fucking winter, no one's gonna fly out, a bunch of plywood, and a bunch of what's that called, Tyvek, the house wrap, so that they can repair their houses. So they look kind of thrown together, but I mean, America's like, we're a first world country, and we're one of the, and of the first world, we're probably like top five in terms of just like how developed we are, and so these houses are like perfectly suitable to live in, and the insides look a lot nicer. It's just it's such a harsh area, and they don't really give a shit what the houses look like. You know what I mean? There's no HOA um on tribal land or like out in the middle of the fucking Yukon or whatever, where like non-Eskimo people live anywhere. So I don't really give a shit what the houses look like, but it is very high cost. That's one of the things um in these areas. So that's kind of why so many people still live in a more traditional way, because it's like they couldn't live in a modern way even if they wanted to, which I guess is good. So yeah, that's kind of the end of the lifestyle section. The lifestyle section, like it's a fucking GQ magazine. I mean, it kind of is. I would say that this is worse literature research, whatever you want to call it, than GQ. And I don't think that's surprising to anyone. I think that GQ is better made and contains more accurate information from more reliable sources than my shitty fucking podcast. Um, but anyway, we're done with the lifestyle section. Now we're going to interviews. I don't know. I guess interviews. I watched a video, so an interview, a video of an interview with a Inuit lady talking about the myths, traditional stories, folklore, whatever you want to call it. Damn, dude, this episode is not going to be as long as I thought it was. We maybe got 15 minutes left. It might be around an hour. Doesn't matter. We keep pushing. Oh, and by the way, I gotta tell you guys about this website. I'm gonna link the website just so you can like read the stories themselves and like learn from this lady or ladies, whatever, whoever made it. But so I was like looking up. I found the story that I wanted to research, and I looked up Sedna story Inuit or whatever on Google to like try to get like a first-hand account so that I could tell maybe like a slightly better story. It's not, it's horrible. So I don't know. I guess I'll say if you're an Eskimo, or I guess Inuit specifically listening to this, I know the stories aren't good. I'm just trying to get like the basics down. You know what I mean? And also these few stories are kind of like a trial run because I eventually want to do an episode where I talk about a short story, but I feel like that I can barely talk about this shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm barely getting through talking about igloos. Like it might be hard for me to tell a cohesive, multi-page story. But anyway, what's up with this website? So, and then it took me directly to the myth I wanted to learn about, and I read about it, and I was like, Tia and Pujik, Pujik, whatever. That's like the name of the website. I was like, what is that? Like two people that started this website? Like people who are really interested in Inuit mythology and stuff. And so I'd go to like the homepage, like the main page of the website, and I was like, what the fuck? It's just so weird. So I'm just gonna tell you guys about this. Or it's not weird. It's just so like niche. It's like the people that would like seek this out is like such a small group of people. But I'm gonna read like the description of why this website was made. It was made because they were trying to make a movie or a show or something called Tia and Pujik. Push. Fuck, dude. I'm gonna have to say a lot of these words coming up in a minute. I'm just gonna say it how my fucking crackgrass says it. You know what I mean? No Inuit or Yupik is listening to this. But anyway. So, I'm gonna read the description of this show. T is feeling lost. The 10-year-old Syrian refugee is trying to start a new life in Montreal, but nothing is working out. Tia's summer changes when she finds a magic portal. It transports her to the tundra. There she befriends Pujik, an Inuit girl her age, camping with her grandmother. As she uses the portal to go on adventures with Pujik, she becomes more and more confident, but strange things occur. It's as if there's a mysterious force that follows her, that something or someone threatens Tia's return to Montreal. The girls immerse themselves in a world of Inuit myth and magic, using all their bravery and smarts to bring Tia back home. I don't know. I thought that was like, so, like, why? I guess because it was made by a lady who has like a daughter who's a Syrian refugee or something. It's just so like niche and unusual. It's like a combination of two things you don't expect. So I thought that was fun. Yeah, I rambled about that for a long time. Maybe this episode will be 2 hours long or whatever. But whatever. Doesn't matter. We're only talking about two myths. They're both pretty short, not super straightforward. None of these are. No religion is, but anyway. So Sedna. That's our first myth. Sedna. I think it's Sedna. If it's not, guys, what do you expect? You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say any of these words right, and that's probably not even the name. That's probably like the anglicized name. But anyway, it's the most famous Inuit myth. I mean, is it? Maybe you've heard of it. I haven't. But it's the myth of the goddess of the sea and marine mammals, and she's kind of a mermaid-looking lady. But kind of not. She's just kind of like an ocean lady. You know what I mean? So some people depict her as a mermaid. Some people it's more like, holy fuck, dude, I can't remember words when I did this. I swear to God, this shit, it doesn't seem hard, but it's so hard. You just like blank, or I do. Maybe other people have the fucking gift. I just blank constantly. Oh, abstract. See, I'm telling you. With some depictions of it, especially more modern depictions, it's more abstract. It's more like a lady who's like one with the sea. Maybe I'll like post a picture of it on the Instagram or something. But no, I probably won't do that because I don't have to credit the person and all that shit. Too much horror. You guys are just gonna have to go off my retardedly described version of it. But anyway, it's also the name of the most distant solar object. So that's kind of cool. Inuit's got that one. Makes up for everything the government did to them for however many years. Not that long, honestly. They're just so isolated. It's like the government couldn't genocide them if they tried. No, I'm not making light of the genocide. I'm just saying that America's really good at that. We're really good at killing people for their land, which is why we're the most powerful country. That's how all powerful countries are made. We're just the best at it. You know what I mean? Iraq, Afghanistan, fucking where else? Japan. I mean, we obviously didn't conquer that land. All of America. You know what I mean? That's how all the best empires are made. That's how all civilization exists. There's like North Sentinel Island is the only place on Earth that the that civilization didn't come to be by killing and conquering people. So anyway, God, why did I say any of that? No, not enough people are gonna listen to this to get me in trouble. And even if they do, dude, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? I don't think. Okay, killing people for their land is obviously not good. It's just what people did, though. That's all I'm saying. It's not good. Shouldn't do it. We know that it's bad. We knew it was bad then. Honestly, I feel like people are always like, no, they didn't know slavery was bad back then. It's like, and I think they did, and they just didn't care because they were like, oh, slavery's bad. Well, I want money. That's my favorite Jeff Bezos quote. No, um, yeah, killing people, not allowed to do it, shouldn't do it. They probably always knew it was bad. They just didn't care. Why do I keep? I'm just digging myself in a hole right now over a joke. I tried to make a joke, it didn't land, and now I'm like breaking down the history of the world. Who gives a shit? No one listening to this cares, and I don't care. So let's get on with the fucking myth. So it's the creation of story of the seas and like the things that inhabit the sea, obviously. And obviously, like the story varies from culture to culture. It's like not all the same, but this is I'm gonna get like the general idea of it down. You know what I mean? The things that are consistent with each story. So, in the way I wrote this down, I'm definitely not ready to like tell a short story yet or anything, but let's get into it. So Sedna is tricked into marriage by a hunter with magical powers who takes her to a remote island. When she's on that island, Sedna's father comes to rescue her from the hunter. I think in the version I read, he comes to visit her, but then he sees like that she like realizes she's been tricked and all that, and so he's like, "Oh, we got to get her out of here." And you're like, "Wow, what a good dad." No, we're gonna talk about that in just a second. But it turns out the hunter isn't just like a human, a magical human. He's a bird spirit with magical powers, and he creates a storm when Sedna and her father are escaping by boat. So I guess in the story he probably like flaps his wings or whatever. It makes a big storm to like try to sink the boat. And Lord, he did not know what he was doing. Sedna's father throws her off the boat to save his life, and the boat, yeah. So came to rescue his daughter, or came to visit her, and then rescued her. Clearly, he's just. It was probably like a very begrudging rescue. He's probably like, oh, a magical hunter tricked you, and now he's keeping you captive on this island. Oh, probably like, Jesus fucking Christ, this bitch again. Am I supposed to help you with everything? So I imagine he was pissed off at her. Not a good dad, because he threw her off the boat. But anyway, when Sedna tries to climb back on the boat, he cuts off her fingers so that she can't. So yeah, this guy, not a good dad. Kind of a piece of shit. Um, you know what I mean? It's like, why did he come to rescue her if he was just willing to kill her that easily? But I don't know. Maybe his wife was like, you gotta go rescue our daughter. That's my Eskimo accent because I just joked about genocide, so obviously I'm not gonna do a fucking ethnic. I'm gonna do a New York accent. I'm gonna make fun of Italians, which you're allowed to do still, which is nice. He was, yeah, his wife was like, "Go rescue our daughter," and he was like, "I don't want it." She was like, "Go do it." He was like, "Fine, I'll do it." And then he was like, "Fuck it, I'll ditch this bitch and tell the wife the hunter killed her or something." Dude, I don't know. I'm riffing, guys. Look, I'm learning how to do this. Obviously, that wasn't a good joke. It wasn't funny. But, we're learning. We're moving forward. I'm kind of breathing like Tony Soprano right now. My bad. If you can hear it at all, this mic is very inconsistent with, what it picks up, how it sounds. We might get to an hour just for me rambling. Started off with me joking about a genocide, joking about how good that America is at it. And then rambling my way, trying to make sure I don't get in trouble for it when no one cares. Everyone listening to this knows I'm not joking about genocide. I'm making jokes about concepts of things, not the thing itself. Anyway, that was dumb. And then I'm doing accents and shit. We might not put out this episode, dude. No, I got to. But anyway, so he cuts off her fingers, and Sedna's fingers fall into the water and become all marine mammals. And I said floats, but you obviously don't float to the bottom, sinks to the bottom of the ocean and becomes the goddess of the sea. So, yeah, after he cuts off her fingers fall in the water. And I guess, like, if you've seen Life of Pi, with, like, the whale swimming and it breaks apart and it becomes all the animals during that, like, weird CGI sequence. That's what I imagine happened. Like, her fingers were falling and then they started, like, wriggling and then they slowly, like, turned into the seals and whales and stuff. Yeah. And like I said, I'm not gonna tell these stories well. I'm just kind of telling them to tell them, and they're not like taboo to tell, from my understanding. Maybe they are. Maybe I'm wildly offending every Inuit right now. I'm offending everyone right now just by how horribly I told that story, but specifically the Inuits out there. But anyway, so I had to say that before I said this next part because the moral of the story is to not overhunt and to respect nature, which I guess it's like that. I guess maybe you derive that moral from maybe the part about the dad throwing her overboard because it's like he you can't put yourself above literally everything else because that leads to bad things. Maybe later on in the story he like or she like makes a storm and kills him or something. I don't know. That wasn't included in my part of the story, but I'm assuming it's related to that part. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But yeah. And hunters pray to Sedna before they go out on a hunt because they mostly eat marine mammals, so they're probably like, hey, it's nothing against you. You know what I mean? Guys gotta eat. Please bring us some stuff. Don't make a storm that kills us. So that's the story of Sedna, who's like the most important god to them and also the most famous myth. So, mm, I'll say this little bit first. So when I was learning about the Inhurat, I'm gonna say Injurat, but I think Injurat is how you say it, or Isharat. It's spelled Ijiraat. So Isharat eight, something like that. I'm gonna say Ijurat because I don't speak Inuit or Yupik or anything similar to that. So that's just what I'm gonna say. So, but I'll say this piece of trivia. I guess not trivia. It's like important cultural knowledge to these people. But I guess that's what all trivia is. Like every trivia fact means something to someone. So I guess it is a fun trivia fact. Anyway, so Inchuk, Inchuk, I think maybe Inchuk is the right way to say it. Either way, I learned about it when I was researching the myth of the Ijurat. It's these humanoid stone structures used by Eskimos to navigate the landscape. So, yeah, they didn't have a lot of stones, and so I guess, and they are like religiously important to them if they still follow that tradition, which most don't. They're like Christians and stuff now, but anyway, yeah. So that's a fun fact I learned about, and we'll see why I learned about it. And I was learning about the Ijurate, whatever. Not anyway. They are supernatural beings that can transform into a human or a caribou. So those are like the two most popular things. But some stories say they can even turn into bears, wolves, or ravens. So they're the shapeshifters basically. And like I said, this is a wide range of cultures over a lot of areas, so there's conflicting reports, guys. We don't know what's going on, but we don't know if they're harmful or helpful. Some say they help travelers, like, that are lost. Others say they trick them and they hide them away, never to be seen again. They also say they do that to kids, so this was probably they probably had to tell a lot of scary stories to their kids just because of how dangerous that kind of life was. You know what I mean? Especially like wandering away. So that's probably because you can get lost in a blizzard like instantly. Yeah, so that's probably the main reason why they told this story to kids. But anyway, all the stories say they like to sing, but some stories say they use their singing and their songs to trick travelers or erase their memories of the Inuit if the travelers escape. So if they try to like hide the people away and the people escape, the Inuit will sing a song to like erase their memories. The Inuit are said to be the spirits of travelers who went too far north and got trapped between the spirit world and our world. So I guess like the North Pole is the spirit world to Inuits. And maybe to Yupiks, I don't know. But yeah, and they have red eyes. Alright. We made it through this episode barely. Yeah, I feel like every week I'm like, I should be getting better, but I don't think I am. I think I'm just getting better at like rambling. Um, I'm also tired I need to find a better way to do these episodes. But anyway, doesn't matter. Next week we'll be back, obviously. But I'm trying to think about what we'll do next week. We might do Johnny Cash or Joaquin Phoenix. That was a special request. And then um, the week after that, I'll do an episode the week after that. But um, it won't be live, so I don't know. Or it won't be like I'll have to upload it in advance. So I might not upload it on Sunday. Or no, I can upload it on Sunday. Yeah, it'll be uploaded same time as always. It doesn't really matter when I upload these, to be 100% honest. But yeah, stay tuned. Promise next week will be better. I say it every week, but it's true. Shout out all the Eskimos. If you're an Eskimo listening to this, hit me up and DM me on Instagram. Um, yeah, berate me. Tell me I told the stories horribly. I know. Whatever. Alright. Horrible way to end the episode. Not a great episode, but we'll be back. Gotta learn. Gotta keep moving. Let's go.